Hi, I am Ajay Singh and I'm very excited to be able to share with you all on Gunner Shot a subject which is very close to my heart and I think close to each one of you as well, on Indian warfare. So let's embark on a very interesting tete-a-tete as we journey through time and try to unravel the story of Indian warfare. I'm sure you would all enjoy it.
The story of Indian warfare is the story of India itself. India, glorious India, a civilization almost 10 millennia old. On its soil, empires have come and gone. Religions and cultures have arisen and flourished, and the diversity of mankind has lived together. Its land has seen battles won and battles lost, and its battlefields have shaped the history of India and the destiny of its people. But where do we begin the story of Indian warfare? Like all good stories, we must start at the beginning, with the first great battle of its recorded history. The Battle of Kurukshetra, an 18-day carnage that wiped out most of the male population of the time and symbolized the triumph of right over wrong. This epic battle, immortalized in the Mahabharata, has shaped Indian psyche as none other. For centuries thereafter, India adhered to the principles of righteousness and of fighting a just war. Perhaps that is one of the reasons India has never been an aggressive expansionist nation. But when we talk of India's battles, I will focus largely on those fought between Indian rulers and outsiders. The first of these was the battle between the king of Pauravas with Alexander on the banks of the Jhelum river sometime in June-July 326 BC. In that day-long battles, the Indians fought the Greeks to a standstill and even broke their formidable phalanx, something that had never been done before. It is significant that after this battle, Alexander's troops refused to go further, and Alexander withdrew from India, calling the Indians the bravest and the most skillful opponent we have ever encountered. Was to come. In 1172, India's fortunes turned. Prithviraj Chauhan was defeated by Muhammad Ghori in the second battle of Tadeo, after having routed him just a year earlier in the previous one. With this defeat, the Rajput Empire diminished and the Sultanate was established in India. It is tragic that from that day onwards, it has been foreign rulers who have sat on the throne of Delhi. An even more lasting change came about in 1526, when Babur, armed with newly discovered cannons and muskets, defeated Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat. Worse, he defeated the Rajputs under Rana Sanga in the Battle of Khanwa just the next year. The Indians could not adapt to the new concepts of gunpowder and maneuver. Grounded in the past, they were defeated, and this set the tone for the Mughal Empire in India, which then lasted 300 years. But Indian rulers continued to resist staunchly. Maharana Pratap of Mewar waged a defiant war against the Mughals. The Battle of Haldi Ghati is remembered even today for his courage and chivalry. But unfortunately, it was a tactical defeat. Rana Pratap's strategic victory lay in the fact that he continued the battle and regained most of his lost kingdom in his 2-decade-long war with Akbar. As the 17th century came about, in the south, another of India's greatest sons, Shivaji, arose. He carved a Maratha empire across the Deccan, defeating the Nizams of Hyderabad and the Mughal armies of Aurangzeb. His legacy was carried forward by the Peshwas, especially Bajirao I, who remained undefeated in 40 battles, as the Marathas established their footprint from Kandahar to Calcutta on the strength of their light, fast cavalry. But the rise of the Marathas had an abrupt fall. Ahmad Shah Abdali, the Afghan ruler of Kabul, was invited by the Nawabs of North India to battle the Marathas, and the stage was set for the largest and bloodiest battle in Indian history, the Third Battle of Panipat. The Marathas were very successful at the start of the campaign and even captured Delhi and Kunjpura, one of Abdali's major strongholds, by the end of 1760. They then set out for Panipat, but Abdali crossed the flooded Yamuna river and came up behind them, cutting them off from their supplies and replenishments. Starved in the cold North Indian winter, the Marathas gradually weakened. Finally, on 14th January 1761, on the auspicious day of Makar Sankranti, the Marathas launched a final desperate attack on the Afghan lines. All day long, the battle hung in balance, till the Maratha ranks finally broke late in the evening. In the slaughter that followed, over 30 Maratha warriors perished, and over 20 to 30,000 women and children were taken prisoner in what was the darkest day of Indian history. The Maratha defeat had an even greater consequence. It opened the way for the British to establish their empire by their victories in the battles of Palashi and Buxar. Palashi was won by treachery. The British bribed Mir Zafar, the commander-in-chief of the army, to betray his own ruler and set the tone for British rule in India. The British consolidated themselves by turning ruler against ruler. First, they enlisted the Marathas and the Nawab of Hyderabad to help them in the Mysore war against Tipu Sultan. Then they turned the Hyderabadis and the Marathas against each other, using race and religion skillfully. In North India, the Sikhs under Maharaja Ranjit Singh had established an empire extending from Kandahar right up to Ladakh and Tibet. They used Indian soldiers to bring down the Sikh empire in the Anglo-Sikh wars. The British did not conquer India. They merely let us defeat ourselves. And independence, glorious independence, came in 1947. But the story of India's battles continued. The fledgling nation was hurled into war just 2 months after its birth, when Pakistan attacked Kashmir, using tribesmen and army officers and men dressed in civilian clothing. They almost succeeded. Kashmir hung by a thread when the Indian army flew in just in time to repel the raiders at the outskirts of Srinagar. In the year-and-a-half-long campaign that followed, the raiders were pushed back from critical areas like Poonch, Rajouri, Uri and Zojila. In one of the most critical battles of the war, tanks were literally pushed up to a height of 11,500 feet, the highest spot where tanks have ever been used, to recapture the critical Zojila Pass in a brilliant act of daring which helped save Leh and Ladakh. That was just the beginning. The India-China war followed when China attacked both Arunachal and Ladakh in October 1962, sweeping aside the unprepared, poorly armed and equipped Indian soldiers. The Indian army was short of everything: guns, ammunition, stores, clothing, vehicles, everything. Everything but guts. That defeat of 1962 was a debacle, and it is something we must always remember and never allow to happen again. In the wake of this defeat, Pakistan attacked India again in September 1965. This 22-day war was the bitterest and the most brutal war between the two nations, extending from Kutch to Kashmir. It saw tanks clashing in some of the largest battles ever in Philora in Pakistan and near Amritsar in Indian Punjab. Pakistan's 1st Armored Division was decimated in the flooded fields around a village appropriately named Asalutta, or the right response, forcing it to flee and leave behind 97 Patton and Shafi tanks, many of which were captured intact in mint condition. But the clinching moment came in 1971, a 14-day war that saw Pakistan cut to size and led to the creation of a new nation, Bangladesh. It saw some momentous battles in land, sea and air. The Indian Navy attacked Karachi in 2 audacious raids on 4th and 7th December, destroying 7 ships and setting ablaze the oil storage plants. The IAF crippled the Pakistani Air Force in both the east and the west. In East Pakistan, Indian troops advanced right up to Dhaka, forcing 93,000 Pakistani officers and men to lay down their arms in the largest surrender since World War II. Yet, the story doesn't end there. The wars continued through the slow insurgencies of Kashmir and the northeast, in the heights of Siachen, in the Indian peacekeeping operations in Sri Lanka, and in the Kargil War of 1999, where Indian soil was recaptured by the blood and valor of Indian officers and men in the rarefied heights of Kargil, Dras and Batalik. But what does this story of Indian warfare tell you? Just one thing. When India and Indians were strong and united, we have won. When we were divided, They could be exploited by outsiders with disastrous results. It is something we must always remember, and remember the lessons of our history. Because as they say, those who do not remember the lessons of history are condemned to relive them. Jai Hind, and may our nation always be strong and united, prosperous and victorious in all its battles.